Moving for the ones in the cold. So just start here, carrying that through the body. Just moving the hips a little bit. Just working the legs. This side. Just working the arms. A little bit of the whole body. Okay, just some stretching out, just breathing in. And back a little bit, coming down, bending the knees. All the way down. Drawing back towards the center. Curling up through the spine. Just in your own time. Make it dynamic. Make it nice and slow. Do what you like. Okay, one more, and then as you come down, just stay down in this kind of forward fold position. So breathing all the way out. Just let the body sit down. You can have the hands in contact with the ground or not. Just release the body, especially the shoulders, the neck. Just let the breath in and out. Release through the body. Play a little bit pressing through the hands, pressing into the feet. Release the spine. Nice and slowly, just start to coil the body back up. So vertical, nice and slow. Go to the side, stretching right up. All the way over. And change. One more time. Side. Oh. Okay, good. Just working the shoulders, pulling back. Opening the chest as well. And forwards. Okay, alternating shoulders. Working now in the figure of 8, just one side. And the other side. And just rolling both together, nice and loose. Good. Okay, just working the chest, rolling in circles. As much as you can, just keep the hips grounded, not really moving too much. Okay, and then the hips. Okay, circling around the back with the elbows. Extending out with the hands. Great. You just work the hips a little bit. Side to side. Just holding one side. And the other. And then quite similar, you just go really to the side. So the body's going to shift over this way. Lengthen right through the side of the leg. And the other side. Stretch away. Good. Feet on parallel lines. Just stretching up. All the way through the back leg. Change. A little bit lower. And change. Okay, legs upwards out. Pushing the hips back a little bit. Just coming down, reaching down to the ground, and coming back up. You also reach into the ankles if you want, or the feet. Just tilting from the pelvis. Keep the knees nice and open at the back. Use the hands for much support as you need. About 8 or 10. Okay, just coming down with the hands. Just on the same line as the feet. And just walking hands over to one side, one foot. Nice and slow over to the other side. And again. And again. Good. Get back to the center, just walk the hands forward. And you're placing the fingertips. Draw the hips and the hands apart. Nice deep breath in. Placing the hand down, rolling the body up. And you can change sides or keep the same side. The whole of the torso rotates up. Good. Bring the hands down again. Move the feet in together. And just going to tread with the back of the ankles. Just pressing the heels down. slowly start to bring the knees up and down. Your core nice and tight. One last stretch up through the shoulders. And release it. Walk the hands back to the feet. Just in the forward fold. Bend the knees. Drawing the body back up. We'll just go to the knees here. Just nice and easy. Tight circles. Bending forward. Back. Just splitting the legs. Hands down, sink the hips through. We'll sit into it. And as deep as comfortable. You get the hips below the knees, pretty good. Drawing back up a little bit with the hips. Hips are above the knees, and then just with the hands on the knees, rotating through the whole spine. Lengthening as you go. So it's not so much about rotating or twisting the spine, it's about really lengthening. So this arm is also lengthening. Lengthen the whole body. And then just take one hand down. It's going to come the same side. Left hand goes to left foot. And just curling over. And you do similar things we did before. Just opening the hand up to the top. And go a little bit lower with the squat. Shift the weight over, change the hand. Okay. And just coming up. Shake the hips off a little bit. Okay. I'm just working the ankle. Working the toes a little bit. Off the ground, rotating. Other side. In the toes. Off the ground. Oh, yeah. Shake it a little bit. Okay, good. Just working the shoulders to stretch them out. Roll the shoulder blades front and back. Full range of motion. You can also do one side and the other. You know, a little bit of a different twist through the joints. And keeping the shoulders they are, just working the elbows down. One way and then the other. Okay, and you're going to get into this position, so the elbows tracked from the body here, and then you connect the little fingers together here, and then the hands, and then the wrist, and then you basically, tricky with the elbows go to the body, and then you press them out, extend them out all the time. See if you can keep that, the arms together, basically contact, and just extend as far as you can keep that contact together. So if you extend and you feel like this is splitting, just keep it a bit close to the body. Full, 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 full. Get to the point when you can't go any further. And then just release it. And come back to this position. So you go here, across the body, connect the hands in front. Forearms, elbows right in the center line, and then press it out. Kind of offering the hands up. Keep the shoulder down, neck chin back, neck long. And just let it out. And one more time. Here. Chin up. And shake the hands. Do a little bit for the wrists. Let's go here into Nikkyo. Keep in contact into the side. 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. And the side.
Okay. No.
Into this Nikkyo. And change. In Sankyo. Change. In the fingers. And change. Roll in the fist. And the fist quite tight. Roll both ways. On the side. Fingers together. So loosening the wrists off. In contact, pressing the palms together. Maybe from the core too. Pressing the fingers out, nice and fast. Full extension. Yeah, and closing the fists. Just start them out and just let them go closer to the body. So every time, a little bit closer to the body, a little bit closer. Make as tight a fist as possible. So you're really clenching the fist. Close to the body, the side of the hip. And really feel the whole body's going to activate down. So right into the feet, core of the body. Try and feel the body's long as well. And then just a few slow. So you kind of slow, everything tenses. Release it, on, off, on, off. Really slow pulse through the body. There. Good. And just let everything shake. Shake the wrists a little bit. Good. Okay, great. Take a BOKKEN. Okay, we'll just start straight away in Hanmi. So just come into here, just in this case, nice big movement. Just let the BOKKEN go through. Did a lot of weapon work yesterday in the workshop, so just get this idea of just swinging through. Big movement. Just see if you can make it as relaxed as possible. Notice any tension in the neck area, maybe the shoulders, knees. See if you can release it all as you go through the movement. trying to get a clear idea of the center of the body. So the whole center line from the spine, all the way cutting into the ground. Just try really aligning the sword to that line. So it can really help to have like a door frame or a wall, like a corner of a wall, just to give you a reference for the movement. Obviously, I've only really got my own body as a real reference, but you can match it with something else. Just get this idea of the line, rolling through it. That's just play with one idea. So like this, it's really the distinction between pushing off the ground and sinking through the ground. So just watch this. You can do the cut like this, in a way like that. So I'm basically, in that case, I get to that position. This leg's kind of in really stretched through, and then what I do is push through the leg. And what I'm basically doing is pushing the body off the ground like this. So what's happening is that, so to go forward, I'm doing it by creating a structure and then pressing off it or pushing off it. But what I want to do a bit more in Aikido is really move through the ground. So I want that structure to be quite soft, so it's supple. So that when I want to go forward, I sink down into it. So just play with this. That none of them are wrong. They're just different patterns of movement. But mostly for Aikido, we're using this kind of structure, which is like the back leg, or the structure that I use is compressive into the ground, but not that I'm kind of pushing off it. So just play with it. Just notice what happened. The problem tends to be the hip and the knee, but just play with it. It's two ways to use the ground. You can push off it, or you can compress into it for the movement. Just play with it. And also, yeah, do both of them, or there's other ways you can do it, like degrees in between, but do both of them so you can really feel the difference. So one of them's pushing off the ground, and one of them's like falling into the ground. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. There we go. Great. That's it. Good. Good. So now just placing the sword. So find the movement. Nothing changes in this case. You just find the sword in this position. So the key thing now is not to press into the sword or do anything different. Just let the arc go through, and then you're just going to place the sword at the hip level. So just that the motion just comes to an end here. So you're just going to catch it basically with the hip. This goes through, and then just catch it. So there's really no force in the hands. Just allow them to kind of come to a stop. It's as if there's a table in front of you, and you just place the hands onto it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. There we go. Nice. Great. Okay, good. So there's different ways now to use the arms. Just watch this. Really different ways. So like this, I can push the arms out of the structure like that. So I can do that out of the structure, or I can draw the arms in towards the center. So again, in Aikido, because I'm working with structure and I want like a compressive structure, really working from the center. The feeling here is not to kind of push the arms out, It's to actually compress everything into the structure. So that my feeling is to draw the arms into the center of the body. They're extended and they're relaxed, but they're being drawn towards the center. So the feeling is the hip is drawing everything in. And that first moment that you'll find is this. If the center draws or the hips create that motion, what will happen is this happens. This happens. And that's not a force. I don't do that with the arms. It's the hip pulling everything towards the center. So it's just going to happen naturally. So, but just get this feeling that what you're doing is something pulling everything towards the center. So you're actually containing the body. And at the hard part of this is that I'm containing the body whilst extending. That's kind of the hard bit. But just give it a try. But feel that everything's kind of pulling towards your center. And as long as I maintain extension, this doesn't go into a kind of compressive, bad compression in this case, which is like crunched. That's it. Yeah, and it's up and down as well. So in the raise too. There we go. That's it, that's it. And again, just experiment with also just like throwing the hands out or throwing the arms out of the structure. So you know what being uncentered feels like. And this is the case, if the arms start the movement, that will happen. It's almost impossible to start in the arms and towards the center. The center needs to be kind of activating all the time. Just get a feel for it. Especially difficult in the raise of the sword, but just get a feel for it. Also experiment what I do. One thing I do a lot is like partial movement. So like this kind of work. So what you want to do is like in the raise, play with this kind of feel. It's like, where am I actually raising that from? And it's like the first couple of millimeters of the movement. That. Now, if I feel like I'm doing that, then the center's doing nothing. So I want to feel, it's in those really small movements. I can feel that, and then I can take it away. So just play a little bit with these kind of partial. The best parts are when you come to a stop. So like here also, this, and I make it as big as I like or small, but just get the feeling for you can also do this kind of thing. You can also stop the movement at any point. Here I'm out now. So you can also feel that you can just freeze frame the motion at any point. The structure should also be in place. If I freeze it, and I'm out, it's a very difficult position to hold. It's almost impossible. So I want to really find that all the time the structure is working through the center, through the ground. So just play with these two ideas like partial movement and kind of freezing the motion. If it's cold, really cold, you might not have a choice, you might just freeze. That's it. Also play with really slow motion as well, like super slow motion, like millimeter by millimeter. We tend to speed up the bits where we're uncomfortable, this is the good thing about doing slow motion or partial movements. We tend to speed those moments up. It's just a really good workout if you get this idea of like partial movement from the center. The center's totally active. So the whole body's doing it. Down. You can actually work up a sweat just from doing this, so it's actually good for the whole body. Yeah. That's it. There we go, nice. Yeah, good. Serena. Great, good. Yeah. Hey, Serena. So again, just notice this one point. So as you come here, there's really a tendency, if I start in the arms or I start in the top of the body, something like this will happen. So the body will do, it'll like throw itself back. So this is like really starting with the arms and the legs, but really get a sense of what you're doing is center. So really just play with it to the point when I want to really notice whether I'm starting in the, for example, like this, This is in the knees. It's the knees collapsing and the structure falls into it. Or I start in the arm and the structure gets pulled out from it. Or you can really get a sense that the hip starts the movement. So really just play with it, and you need to be quite subtle with it, or you need to really, the level of feeling needs to be pretty big, but I need to know the difference between collapsing the structure down, pushing the structure out, or just drawing it all towards the center of the body. The center of the body should feel totally kind of effortless, even though you're really engaging from the core. It should feel like everything just pulls together. Yeah. That's it. And everything has this kind of rubbery quality, especially the legs. Legs have this kind of rubbery, dense quality. As soon as I collapse through it, or I make them stiff, kind of lose that suppleness. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, good, great. And then just come into the cut, so just add in the focus, but keep it very light. So again, nothing really changes in it. I just add extra, just last couple of % of the arc of the sword, just tightens the grip. Tighten the grip. And don't allow it to disturb the whole body. Come into the draw to the center and goes like this. Let's play with it. There we go, good. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so the main problem with pushing out with the hands or doing something extra even in the forearm, doing something like doing something like this, it's pulling the structure of the shoulder out. So then what happens is either the shoulder's in a very weak position, or I try and keep the shoulder in place, which adds really all this tension into the shoulder. So just think all the time, there's a point in the cut. There's a point when I get the cut where the shoulder's really in the correct position. And that means it's just really functional. So I don't need to add tension to it. I don't need to try and support the shoulder. It's just through the nature of the structure. It's really in a strong position. Now what I need to do is match that position of the shoulder with the grip. So that timing is really important. The moment I do something like that, I take the structure away from itself. Or I'm actually timing the cut before the structure's really in place. It isn't like something in that, and the cut's really high, and the shoulder's really not in such a great position. So just get a feeling for, you've got the arc, just let the shoulder go. The placing is where I'm trying to get the shoulder really into position. So I'm really trying to activate this whole part of the body where it feels very, very strong, but not with tension. And then what I'm trying to do is just catch that position with the hands. Catch the position. Catch the position, but just play with it a little bit. You can try left side, right side as well, just to mix it up. Just notice the shoulder. That's it. Good. That's it. Very nice. Right, so we just go into Zengo. So come into the front, and then just allow the shoulder structures rubbery, and then from here, release it, send it back. Nice and rubbery, especially in the lower legs, lower body. the knees, and then just release it all. Try and feel that this is really a motion of settling, not becoming rigid or pushing the structure out, just settling the structure. Settle everything down. Settle it down, release it. Settle, release. And feel free, you don't always have to do 180 degrees, just really about changing sides and releasing into a rotation. So play a little bit with the angle. That's it. That's it. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so again, just watch. Okay, it's really about the structure of the shoulders. So the more I'm out of balance in this case, so the more I'm in these kind of positions, the more the shoulders works. The shoulders going to have to do because it needs to, in order to rotate the body, it needs to pull back into the structure. So if it's in these kind of positions, as I rotate, it's going to split from the body. So I create a separation, and then I need to basically pull it all together. But it's working basically off the center. But then the other problem is that I've got the strong connection here to the center. And as I go, I don't release it. So I keep it something like that. And then the structure of the arm is trying to do something that it's really not possible for it to do without tension. So really get a sense that what you can do is find the structure here, but it's quite rubbery. So it's not hardened and it doesn't become kind of stiff. It's strong, but it's not stiff. So then as you go, it's basically going to release. Yeah, but the point is that the shoulder never becomes rigid. So there's no need to really release the shoulder because it's never really going into a position where it's like that. And then I need to somehow go around it or try and release it. Just get the feeling that it's always released. So it's really only the hand that's got the tension in it in this case. Let's get that idea of that. Shoulders nice and loose. Go. Let's let it out. Go. That's it. And this is where, in terms of connection, where millimeters really matter. So I can be really off center by a very small fraction, and it will really affect the ability to coordinate the whole body. Ah, good. That's it. Nice. Good. Nice. Okay, good. Just come into number 4. So depending on your space, you start with number 1 and then just come through. You can do 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 if you're lucky, and then just rotate. But every time you're going to work Shomanuchi, find in the back, cutting through. It's always best for me to have a kind of reference point. So if I've got something straight like a door and the corner of the wall, I'm basically aiming everything at it. So there's a line through the ground and there's a line that goes out. In this case, the scroll. Just let everything fall onto that line as you do it. It's all Shomanuchi, straight down the line. And everything's kind of dissecting the line. Yeah, that's it. Nice. Good. just watch this. So when you get this, there's lots of different ways you can use the body. This is only really a metaphor. It's not quite true, but it's one way you can get the feeling for it. So if you imagine this is you, in the middle, and the sword's maybe here, cutting out. So when you want to move, if you're a ball, you want to do something like that through the ground. So imagine that the floor's like, I'll use the floor here. So this is the line of the floor. You're above the ground and your feeling's below it. As you go, you want to do something like this through it. Not with the ground. The ground's static in this case. But you're going to do something like that. So you're going to roll under the body like this. Just watch this. So when you step, you go. This is on a feeling that's not really technical, but you try and get a sense that what happens is something rolling back. So this is where we talk about like including the back in the movement and the movement really coming from the ground. So it's really a sense that you're wheeling through the ground this way underneath, this way underneath. So it's really about your relationship with the ground more than my feeling to go forward. So the forward's something that happens, but my feeling is going down like this. So there's this kind of feeling which arcs underneath and then pass the body through it. The other options I can do is just push off the ground. So I want to go forward, I push off the ground to go forward. Also fine. The other option is I just fall forward. And if you watch people on the street, most people when they walk, they just fall totally. It's like a kind of controlled fall. So when you do this kind of work, it's like walking, but I need to be walking well to get the point of it just being like walking. So get the sense that when you go, you're really rolling the body underneath it. It's like the underside of a wheel or a ball. So just play with it. It's tricky. So play without the sword or play with it, but just get this feeling. What's good about this movement actually helps the movement. So it helps that feeling of actually drawing towards the back because it really puts all my feeling into the back of the body and the ground. And when I don't happen to something like that, where I get pulled out with it. So really get this feeling of like wheeling underneath the movement. And I pass it forward. Just play with it a little bit. Yeah, that's it. And really play with it as well. Yeah. It actually requires a lot of balance work as well. So all this kind of balance work Andrea does on Saturdays stuff, this is really great work to do because really, really essential. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Right. Okay, good. So if I can get that motion like the legs being rubbery, releasing towards the ground, what I can then get is the hip coming through with the movement. So just focus now a little bit on the hip work. So as you do it, I got this sinking down, and at the same time, what happens is the hip connects to the sword, and that's what creates the raise in the sword, and then the cut through. So just think now about the hip basically raising the sword and drawing the sword down. Again, it's about drawing everything towards the center again. So you never really leave the center, but you're going into a position where it's very hard to kind of hold it all together. You're off balance a little bit, and you're in these kind of positions. So what I want to do is always keep the center, drawing towards the center. This. And that's why it really helps to go slow with it. So I can really feel the points when I get pulled out, or I cut and I'm really unstable. I need to catch myself. So take it really slow as well. And also feel you can also just pulse through it a little bit. That first movement, that. So just play a little bit with it. And more than anything, it's about coordination. Coordinating the hands and feet, coordinating the hips to the hands. That's it. That's it. Good.
Okay, now we come into number 5. So 5 really emphasizes the hip work. So keep that same feeling of wheeling underneath. So it's exactly the same. And then what you do is you change the hip work. So it becomes something a bit more spirally in the hips. So just get the sense that do this basically do this two or three times with the cut. So really get a sense that I'm coming from a still position and then just pass everything through it. Just make it as easy as possible. Just playing with it. Also feel free to just swing through, go through it, just place it. Come in with a very light focus. Not too much emphasis on putting power into it. Really just coordination work. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Great. There you go. Oh, yeah, okay, right, so when you do I'll show it this way, so it's, I'll show you so you can't see the ball. No, wait, that way. Okay, when you do this with the 𝒊𝒔𝒏, you're basically just rolling the ball. So it's just and actually it's rolling backwards. It's going something like that, forward. You just pass it forward. That's kind of what the hips are doing. So they're just kind of rolling forward with it. When you do number 5, you're arcing it a little bit. So you're doing something like that, but the ball's still passing forward. That's the trick. What I don't want to do is like something like that with the hip. So get a feeling that you've got the forward motion, but you've also got a coiling in the hip happening. Now, this is just using the ball as a metaphor, but it's really the sense that what's happening is like that. Now you've actually got like 2 ball joints, because if you think about it, you've got 2 hips like this, and you've got 2 shoulders doing with ball joints. So get the sense that you're passing down the line, but you're actually coiling the hip. So the hips are doing something different than the 𝒊𝒔𝒏, which is just passing the hips through. This is really like 𝒊𝒏𝒕 work, where it's really like 𝒕𝒂𝒃 this way. Now, when you go to 𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒃, it's a bit more this kind of work. So the hips are a bit more open, and they're going to really coil. They're going to really coil through it. So just play with it. But in order to kind of get that, it's best to do like a really straightforward motion. This is why following the line's really, really important. Oh, this boy's full of rubbish. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Nice. Yeah, good. Great. There we go. Great. Yeah. It also looks much nicer as well. So when you can do this kind of work, it looks super efficient. It looks really nice for that. Great. Good. And then we'll just work with number 7. So just work it freely. So work with 𝒊𝒏𝒕, ski, and depending on your space, just play with it. So you can go into 𝒊𝒏𝒕, go into ski. You can just go into Zengo, 𝒊𝒏𝒕, ski, but each time you're just going to find the right side cut, left side ski. If you've got space for it, you're not going to hit the lights. 𝒊𝒏𝒕, cutting on the right, thrust on the left. That's it. Number 7. No. this case, again, it's not really a feeling. It's technical, but it's much more of a feeling based. So when you get this feeling of the ski, get the feeling that it's not just the tip of the sword that's sharp or the blade that's sharp. So I can get the feeling like, yeah, that's all sharp. In this case, can it get the feeling that the whole body's got that quality? So I need to transmit a quality into the sword because it doesn't have any kind of real quality. It's just a piece of wood. So I need to impart that quality into it. So that feeling's only going to come from me there. And yeah, it's got a pointy end. If I hit someone with a lot of force, it's going to pierce through. But that quality of sharpness needs to come from me. And for me, it comes from this hip. So there's a feeling of that hip really ski in. So all of your ski work's going to come from the center of the body initially. It's not going to come from the fist. So I don't wait for the fist to like insert the quality. The quality comes right from the beginning, like this. So the same thing with the sword or kia. That quality of being sharp and piercing through is that. And then it comes through with it. So just play with it. So the 𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒄𝒄 but it's a bit more but it's a bit more clear with the ski. You've got something quite sharp through the side of the body. Really, you want this feeling to pierce the whole body through the movement.
Michael, would you say that this is exactly what Yoda was demonstrating in the movie yesterday? Because he goes through a person instead of just stopping in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, you can also see like his structure doesn't stop with them, so he just goes through them. And the person happens to be in the way, and their structure is weaker than Yoda, so they just fall over. Or set them up into a weak position, the structure can't hold itself, so they just go. Because he's just in the way. So it's like hitting a brick wall because they just run into him. And then his structure is so perfect to line. Timing's perfect, so they just go with it. That isn't the same. This is where like the weapon works really helpful for us because that kind of quality is really what we're practicing. Like, oh no, that kind of feeling. Like, and also he talked a lot about like Ishin, of like a whole body going towards one point. Like all my power concentrated on one, like this. And he's also a very light guy, so he will maybe weigh like 60 kilos or something, maybe less. And he can just put everything into that point. That's really powerful. So it's like why we work together. What's one point? Great. Nice. Well, just finish with this variation. Feel free to play with the basic ski. So you've got that kind of ski. And then this variation that's really nice, working with the hand off the sword. So you go here, and then it goes through. Don't slip on the ground as you do it, would be helpful. So as you go, you're going to go here, and then this really nice transition. Again, it's the hip that does it. Hip, and then does it here. So in this case, you're actually just placing the sword into place. So it's not really like a kind of thrusting movement. It's like a kind of warning. So it's coming towards the body. And my feeling with this is that the sword's going to end up here, right on the tip, and the person they've got a choice. They can go forwards or not into the sword. It's a kind of controlling motion. It goes there like that. So you're basically creating a barrier to come through, but it's a really sharp barrier. So if the person approaches forward, they're going to fall onto that. That's the just try like this, the last one. This is where you need to also kind of flexibility. We don't do this a lot in Aikido, and it's a shame. We don't really attack for the wrist a lot. So we don't go for the wrist. We sometimes when we go into kind of sparring in the dojo a little bit, but the wrists are quite delicate, but they're really, really clear targets. It's one of the most obvious targets with sword work. So what I want you to feel is like you've got that. You can also now do like this. I just press the sword through. So there might be a time when the hand is either at risk of being hit this way, and I need to pull it away from the sword. So there's times in sword work when I do things like this, especially if someone I can see really clearly someone's goes to the wrist, I just pull it out of the way. This way. So this is to save my wrist. Or there's a possibility the wrist gets struck. Boom, I can't use it. Now what do I do? So I really feeling like this is going to come from here, there. So just feel that you can actually, and then this is where the core's really, the quality is really from the core, not from the hands. It's not this is that. It's got this kind of quality. And that doesn't need a lot of power. So you've got a katana, it doesn't need any power at all because you're just going to insert the sword forward. Just play with it. You got that. That. And actually all based on the same motion of the core. How tricky. What?
Michael?
Hello?
Why is it the left hand that you took off the bokken? Is that because if it's a katana with the right, it's got a guard, so your right hand wrist is more protected?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, in this case, it's just because I want to shift to that position. Actually, the motion's coming from this side of the body. You see that? Actually, you don't need that hand. You could do it with that hand as well, because you don't really have for this movement, you can't really do that kind of cut. So that won't really work. With the sword. But I can't do that motion.
Okay.
And the point of this is that it's not really that arm. You understand? So with the ski work, it's not this arm that does it. I'm not doing something like that, it's that. So this arm's coming through in this structure.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Trunk. Going through that. Yeah. And it just depends on what I've got on the sword and how much extension I can use with it. Yeah, okay, great. So we'll stop there. This is why it's really important to be, when you go to sparring, or if you go into sparring work, to be able to be spontaneous with the bow. No one expects you to take the hand off the sword for most part. So if they hit the hand and I do something like that, and then they're in my space here, I just hit them with it as well. So my hands are also free. I'm not wedded to the sword. So this is the point in sparring when we get to that level, which you can do very easy, very playful, is to be able to use the body in a surprising way. But in the essence of all these is that the movement's coming from the core anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I do with hands. I can adapt the hands to do whatever I want. So that's kind of the point of it. So the more you can get closer into the core of the movement, the more free you are to adapt it to something else. Okay, so. Domo, arigato.
Domo, arigato gozaimashita.
Okay, very good.
Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
Thanks a lot.